Really looking forward to Uncanny X-Force #1 by written by Sam Humphries with art by Ron Garney. Um, I guess mostly because X-Force has been a really great book when Rick Remender was doing it. Probably, like I think I've said before, one of the best Marvel books in years, Marvel team books. So even though it's a different writer, I still had high hopes for it. Plus, it had Psylocke. I mean, it was kind of continuing the continuity sort of. And, Mohawk Storm. Everybody loves Mohawk Storm. So, also on the team, I guess you could maybe not tell here, but there's Spiral, Puck, and who is that on there? Oh, a female Phantom X. So, and, in the background you got Bishop. So, anyway, this book, like I said, kind of continues from Uncanny X-Force. It starts out with Storm and Psylocke kind of explaining in roundabout ways that, they need a little redemption, or just things have not been going well for them, in their relationships, actually, with Storm and Black Panther, their marriage being annulled after AVX, and Psylocke and Phantom X, which they don't really... The female Phantom X is an interesting character, but anyway, neither one of them goes into great detail, but, basically that's why they're hanging out. And Wolverine sends them on some kind of mission, not a X-Force type mission where they basically were, covertly going around killing everybody, which was, sort of the moralistic struggle of internal struggle that underlied all the X-Force books that Remender did. But anyway, they show up in Cali, I guess, at some bar, and Puck and Spiral are there. And I don't know a lot about either one of them. I read a lot of Alpha Flight, but I think Puck has probably had a million adventures since then. And I don't really know a lot about Spiral either. I think it's very weird. They do this kind of superhero introduction, like, a small caption about each person. And I think it says here, Eugene Puck recently spent some time in hell. After his return to Earth, he's been making up for lost time. So I guess him and Magic were in hell? I don't know. Anyway, the point is, this book just felt a little jumbled and wild with it coming together. And then, I'm not saying it can't get better, but, off to a shaky or weird start in the beginning. So, and Bishop shows up, and I don't know where he's been. I think he actually was last seen trying to kill Hope when she first appeared, and that was when she was a baby, so I think he's been gone forever. But, he shows up in some Terminator type scene where he teleports in from, like, the past or wherever he's been, and he's like, I'm back. So, I don't know. Very cool cover, though. That's the best I can say about this book. Well, I think it'll get better going on, but like I said, we had higher hopes for that. In the same vein, Young Avengers #1. I'm a huge Young Avengers fan. I really like... this is written by Kieron Gillen, with art by his phonogram partner, Jamie McKelvey. So it's got a very... Those are really two cool creators to put on kind of a offbeat, teenager superhero book. But even in the I don't know what they call it, editorial page, Kieron Gillen was saying that he was a little scared to take over Young Avengers because that book had always been, done by the creators of that team, Alan Heinberg and Jim Chung. And, all those stories were very much beloved, and the characters. So, but they got to keep these franchises going, I guess. So, I figured, if you're gonna relaunch them or keep doing them, Kieron Gillen and Jamie McKelvey, I approve of that editorial selection for a creative team. But, well, first of all, as you can see on the cover here, you've got, I think, only 3 of the former Young Avengers, which would be Kate Bishop, who shows up. As you know, if you read Hawkeye, one of Marvel's best books, she's hanging out with Hawkeye. But here in this book, she's hanging out with somebody else about as far away as possible as you can get from where she's, I guess hanging out in New York with Hawkeye. But anyway, I guess if Wolverine can be in numerous books, and they don't have to explain why, I guess Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, can be in 2 books. So anyway, Hawkeye, and Wiccan and Hulkling, the adorable gay superhero couple. And then you've got Kid Loki, that alone is a reason to read this book. I mean, I'm so super sad not to have Patriot and some of the other original Young Avengers, but I love Kid Loki. He's awesome, and excuse me, why do I keep doing that? Kieran Gillen did awesome things making Kid Loki, a huge fan favorite, internet beloved character. So, and then Nova is not Nova. What's his? I don't know what his name is, but Captain Marvel, Novar, whatever. He's on here, and he's actually in two places also because I think that he's on the Avengers team. And then lastly, you have here Captain America Chavez or Miss America. I'm not sure what they're calling her, or if she's completely new. But she seems like she's like a Latina Captain America with an attitude, which I don't know, sounds very stereotypical. But anytime I trust Kieran Gillen to do something cool with her, and it's always good to have more minority characters. So, all that said, I thought this was going to be a really good book, but it's also, like X-Force, a little bit jumbled. I mean, not as badly. He does introduce all the characters and show where they're at. I think the really confusing part is Miss America and Loki are fighting for some reason, and I actually think that if you read the Marvel Now .1 story that had Young Avengers, a few pages, Miss America and Kid Loki were fighting there also, but there seemed to be a little more explanation or reason as to why they were meeting and what maybe had been going on with them, whereas he doesn't explain any of that in here, and it's just kind of confusing. And there's also sort of some development, let's call it, with the parental figures of Wiccan and Hulkling, so I can see he's got some pieces in motion, and he's setting the stage, but again, it's a little bit, I don't know. Uncanny X-Force and Young Avengers, not off to great starts, but hopefully they'll get better. So those were the two new Marvel Now books for this week. Now we've got a few number 3s. Avengers by Jonathan Hickman, which I have been saying I was really anticipating. And the first 2 issues were fairly strong, but this third one is like, apparently, I mean, it ends as if they've sort of solved the problem of the first 2 issues, or the beat the enemy, but knowing Hickman, that's probably not the case, and whatever happened will probably return as a thread later, but it's just, I don't know, very just abrupt. And one of the, so some of the reserve Avengers show up, and I don't want to spoil, like one of the more overpowered characters who's kind of cool to see show up again has this bizarro interaction with the enemies that kind of make them stand down. It's just, I don't know what's been up with that character, so I can't really say whether it was in character or not, but it was definitely weird. The fight scenes were not bad. I don't know. I think the best part about this issue was Jerome Peña's art, which at first I was thinking, he's a really strange choice to do a straight-up superhero or Avengers book, because he was awesome on X-Force, but that's a little more offbeat. Anyway, I don't know. I still have high hopes for all 3 of those books, but okay, now, talking about, this is a book I may have given up on having high hopes for. I mean, it's a very cool idea to have, or not very cool, but it makes sense to have Red Skull using the, if you haven't read this, sorry, but spoilery. He has the, not spoilers for this issue, if you read the previous 2, you already know this. Red Skull has the, somehow gotten Charles Xavier's brain, the dead Charles Xavier's brain, and is using it to, those telepathic powers for evil. And he basically stirs up a whole bunch of anti-mutant hysteria, and, regular citizens are going around rioting and killing mutants. So, that's, a good idea, I think. But just the way this is all coming through, it's just, and the villains, the S-Men, I think Skull calls them, are super corny. It's just not really good. So, sorry, Remender, it's not working for me. We'll see. But that's, I think, the least, the 3rd issue of both those Avengers and Uncanny Avengers were not as good as the first 2, in both cases. And then, I guess it's the last Marvel Now book I'm talking about today, FF number 3, and I gotta say, this one's probably the best one. I mean, it's kind of the most inconsequential one, but it's, at least it has an idea of what it wants to be and kind of is there. And that's, because Fraction gets to write a little bit weird, and Mike Allred's art is just awesome, and you get to see some other characters interacting. And this guy, John Storm from the future, he claims to be Johnny Storm from the future, where he escaped the fate of his, the rest of the family who apparently died in the future. So I don't know. There's a little mystery going on and some romance. So. Or possible romance. I don't know. But that was the best book out of all the Marvel books. And, just nothing too hot. But hopefully next month when all those come back, they'll get back on track. Anyway, DC. Alright, so I read recently Justice League 15, and this is number 16. They started in 15 the Throne of Atlantis crossover, which I guess is a crossover just with Justice League and Atlantis, Aquaman. But it's pretty good. It's better than all those Marvel books, that's for sure. It's got a sense of a huge plot that, or menace that Jeff Johns is doing, and no secret, Atlantis is uprising against the surface world. And honestly, I think Aquaman might be the most interesting character in this book. I've never been a fan of Aquaman. I mean, who has been? But he's pretty interesting with the way he kind of is stuck in the middle, let's say, between Atlantis and the Justice League. So, and meanwhile, Cyborg is off doing his own thing while the rest of the team's getting the crap beat out of him by the super powerful Orm, who is Aquaman's brother. It's very superhero standard stuff, but it's good superhero stuff. So, it's a lot better than a lot of what DC has been doing. I mean, last week I read, I didn't review it, but read the latest Batman because I've been reading, what's it called, Death of the Family. And I have to say, I was amazed, but I didn't think it was very good. Like, I like all the issues Snyder has done of Death of the Family. Like, Joker seemed really menacing and stuff, but that was just, I don't know. Maybe I have to reread it, but it just didn't seem as good to me either. Maybe I'm just not in a mood this week where anything can impress me. So, almost done here, guys. Sorry, but so one of my viewers, Janelle, asked me to. I asked for suggestions, and none of you gave me any. But Janelle asked me to try. What is this called? Sword and Sorcery, right? Featuring Amethyst. I read Amethyst when it came out, and I don't know. I think I liked it at the time, but this is just. I gotta say, Janelle wasn't my cup of tea. This is number 4, so maybe the first 3 issues set this all up better. But she's fighting like some corporate witch, and I mean that that's what Amethyst calls her, and she's, the villain is corporate and magical. It's just, the whole thing's kind of corny, and it comes off as if it's written for a younger audience than me. I mean, I'm old as hell, but I mean, for tweens, let's say. I mean, I don't know what I can say good about this book. It also featured Constantine, which, I don't know, we'll see where I like Constantine, but in this book, and I guess they're saying in other places he's, really neutered and not kind of the cool, edgy bastard that he is, in the Vertigo world, well, which I guess he's no longer in. Anyway,